Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. We are very, very excited to have such a special guest with us today. Her name is Alyssa Kuzins, and she's amazing. Alyssa, I have followed you from your podcast, Self-Care Spotlight, to Instagram, to, I don't know if you remember, but 2 years ago you did a workshop in Atlanta and I met you there. And so very excited to have you on the show. So thank you very much. So for people who don't know you, here's your bio. Alyssa is an embodiment coach and mentor. She is the creator of Body Art, a community and ambassadorship program based on embodied dance. She has been leading women's healing retreats since 2016. Alyssa has also taught Vinyasa yoga since 2015 and has taken a yoga for trauma training, as well as a Kundalini yoga intensive training, all of which have informed her teaching style and unique approach. She is currently writing her first book, a poetry memoir about the healing journey post her husband's traumatic brain injury. It's due out in March 2022. You can find her on Instagram at Alyssa Kuzins. Alyssa, welcome to Madness Cafe.
Thank you for having me. And of course I remember, oh my gosh, literally, how could I forget that? How could I forget? That was such an amazing workshop. And I was so honored to go down to Atlanta to Modern Mystic and everything that Kelly has created with that amazing shop, and just meeting all of you. When you messaged me and were like, do you remember? I'm like, of course I remember you.
Yeah, I never think anybody remembers me.
I remember.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that was truly fantastic. And if I remember correctly, you did a little bit of, kind of movement in that workshop. So it's really nice to see the progression to where you are now with Body Art and with your poetry and your book that's coming out. I'm so incredibly excited for you, and just excited to delve in and get more information about everything.
Absolutely. It's really been like an evolution, truly. I mean, we're all always evolving. I mean, if we're not, right, then what are we doing?
Yeah, then we're dead.
Yeah. So we have to evolve. We really do. I think that's whenever we feel that stuckness and we feel that pain, it's because we aren't allowing ourselves to shift, to change our minds, our opinions, our beliefs, maybe our values, our lives, our jobs, our relationships, so much. If we're not allowing ourselves to shift, I think that's whenever we just get that sticky feeling that we've all probably felt at some point in our lives. And we realize we got to kind of, am I allowed to swear, by the way? Can I just ask that? Okay.
Absolutely.
We got to shake shit up sometimes, but it is really cool to, especially being with someone like you, Vandy, who's been following, I hate the weird word, but been with the journey and seen where I'm going. It's really cool because it is such an evolution. And I look back on that time and it's wild because my life is so different. I've pivoted so much in my career and what I want to offer. And yet it's almost like you can probably even see where the similarities are. And how it's not like you said, I did some movement at that workshop. It was journaling based. Like there were things and pieces. It was still women's empowerment. It just is different now. It's a different version, just like ourselves, right? We're always just different versions of ourselves at any given time in our lives. And same thing, I think, with my career, honestly.
How would you describe your current version?
Of me or my career?
Of you. Of you. Yeah, you.
Ooh, that's a good question. The current version of Alyssa is, she's quite free, and she honestly is very, very expressive, very vulnerable, very authentic in a very radical way. And I think also I'm more in touch with my sensual sexual side than I ever have been in my entire life. At 30, I'm 31, and I can honestly say that I feel definitely the most like me. This version of me feels like the most like me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you say radical?
We are just getting in.
We just dive right in here on Madness.
It is radical. It's radical self-expression. It's radical authenticity, radical vulnerability. And I say that because it's just this other layer of being expressed and being human that I feel like I finally allowed myself to just be and put forward. And so it doesn't feel just like your everyday I'm sharing or, oh, like whatever. It really feels like it's this other level. And that's why radical feels more on point. I just got to this point after my husband's accident where I think when something huge happens, you either go like one way or the other. When you meet death and you have like, it's whispering to you and you have to look at it. I think you either are going to go one way where you're like, I'm going to live my life so fucking freely and expressed and liberated, and I'm going to make love to life and radically show up for it.
Right.
So that it can show up for me and I want to meet it. Or you go the other way and you get stuck in this maladaptive stress response, as it, it's called in like really technical term. Like you get stuck in this frozenness and I can't live my life and I'm afraid and I don't want to try new things and I'm going to live in a bubble. And it seems like it's almost honestly one way or the other. There's not much, it doesn't like, there's not always this middle of the road. And I saw it happen with myself and people in even my immediate family. I could see, you've probably seen people in your life who've kind of had something massive happen, maybe even you, and you've kind of gone one way or the other. And for me, probably just because of who I am as a person and all the work I already had done in my career, that I went the path of, I want to make love to life and I wanted to make love back to me. And so radical showing up in all ways.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I come away with your journey is I see a sense of bravery in you in allowing yourself to be so vulnerable and allowing yourself to change and adapt in the way that is right for you, not what's right for society or for other people. Does that sound fair? Is that on point, do you think?
Yes, very much so. I had this conversation with my therapist recently that I don't think there's ever been a point in my life more so than now where I am making decisions entirely for myself. Like I come first.
Right.
And I'm living my life based off of my own internal compass, which is radical. I'm going to say that word again. Because society, and I'm not kidding, y'all. I just had this conversation with my therapist last week, that the cognitive like dissonance that I was feeling last week. I love my therapist. I have a male therapist and I need it so much. I need like the energy that he's wonderful. Just, oh gosh.
Everybody should be in therapy.
Honestly, I've been with him since pre-COVID, and thank gosh, because he was with me through all of this. And we've met pretty much every single week since my husband's accident and everything. And it's fantastic. But that I had this cognitive kind of dissonance almost happening where I was trying to understand, why am I feeling like I feel so good? I feel so at peace. I feel free. Everything was gravy. And yet I felt this low key anxiety. And I couldn't quite place it. And then as we were talking in therapy, I realized it was this idea that this internal compass, I feel very secure in listening to myself and what I think is right for me, as you pointed out. And society will make you feel that that's wrong.
Yes.
And that's where that like mental blip and that low key anxiety then is like under there. Like, hey, shouldn't you be worried? Like, shouldn't you be worried about everything? Why are you so calm? Like the bottom's going to fall out, or you shouldn't be. Why are you trusting life so much? Has life taught you to trust it? I mean, I don't really think so. Right. So it was this weird blip I was having, and I have to almost like train myself to know I am trusting in life, and I feel at peace, and that's okay. And I trust myself. I trust life. I know what's best for me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, that's very empowering. I mean, to feel that you trust yourself and know it, and you're going to give into it. That is amazing. You know, more people need that. And I'm sure more people want that, but don't know how to get there.
Absolutely.
Your words are so poetic, just the way you express yourself. It's powerful. How did you decide to start writing your memoir on poetry?
This is a good story. So, and thank you. Also, I try to be poetic. I don't try, it just comes out, but thank you. Also, when you start writing poems, you start talking poetically. You do. It's a thing. I swear. So how it came out, Jennifer, is, so my husband's accident, he was in a cycling accident. An animal ran his bike off of the road, and he smacked his head off of the road. And he was wearing a helmet and all that, but nonetheless, he suffered a traumatic brain injury, and he hit his head real hard. So
sorry.
At this point, you know, it's like the sorry is like, I hear them, and it's like, you know, I guess it's like an interesting, it's almost like I don't need to hear it anymore, you know, like, thank you. And I'm past it. For a lot of it, I'm past it. And we're really good. And, you know, we're together today and hanging out at the pool and going to the gym, and he's back at work. And yeah, it's interesting. The grieving healing process is so interesting. But so that was in July of 2020, July 7th, 7/7. And then by November, he had just come home from the hospital in September, beginning of September 8th. He was in the hospital for 2 months. And so by November, I was just, I was just in the thick of so much grief, just moving through every single denial, anger, like just every single possible stage,
right.
Moving, cycling through it, circling back, you know. And it was also, I mean, I'm in Pittsburgh, so it's like starting to get cold and it's dark. And in some ways, I always wonder like how that probably impacted my healing journey. And what if that would have been during the peak of summer, where I would have been through that really, really deep shit, if that would have changed it. It was kind of perfect that the season of the winter and the crone wisdom like brought me internal to do all this reflection, but it also made it like hella harder because I couldn't physically go outside for a large part of that deep grief. And it was cold and fucking dark, and just, you know, how it gets East Coast. So in November, I was just really in it. And I woke up one morning at 4:30 a.m. and I couldn't go back to sleep. And there was just a voice that sounds strange and kind of like, oh, okay, there was a voice, but it's just this voice that said, you're going to get up and you need to go write. You're going to write a book.
Wow.
And so I got up and I started writing. I just opened the computer and I started writing, and that's it. And I just kept writing, and I made it beautiful rhythm. And it ended up becoming, I kept waking up at 4:30 without an alarm clock. Like my body just knew, get up, go write. And so I would listen, and I just would get up and I would write. And I really feel like I just channeled something. It just, when writers talk about like, it came through me and I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
It just came from somewhere higher, and also from deep within me. Cause I personally think that, you know, we're a speck of that divine. Like, I'm not separate from it. So it just all came through and came out and onto the screen of my computer, and my fingers just went, and I wrote the most of the book through the winter. You know, like looking at this, the largest chunk of this book's writing was the first 6 months of healing. And then all of a sudden, and the most of it was 0 to 3 months, like November, December, January, I wrote and wrote and wrote like voraciously. It just came out. And I think it was because for me, winter is such an internal reflective time. And for all of us, it is. And it's a beautiful time to do something like write a book. And like less movement. It's literally cold out. Like our bodies, like we slow down. And so even though I'm an embodiment teacher and people think embodiment dance, right? I didn't feel like moving. And quite frankly, I was also pretty depressed. So I just wasn't in this, even though movement would have helped, I just wasn't in the space yet. And my spirit wasn't asking for movement in that way. It was asking me to write. Not just write, but go write poetically, because there's something about poetry that is different than journaling or just writing nonfiction. Art in the form of poetry, to me, it just has a way of describing things that are ineffable in everyday language, that everyday language just can't touch. And you need that poeticness. You need the rhythm and the rhyme and the prose, and you need the lack of proper sentences and grammar, and it might not make sense. You need that. You need to like make art of that messiness that you're trying to process internally in pain. And somehow poetry did that for me better. And so I just kept writing, and I said I was going to make it a memoir, a poetry memoir, kind of made that up, and was like, okay, I'll write until July, up until the 1 year anniversary. So I wrote like November to July, and here we are.
Wow. Fantastic that you actually slowed down and paid enough attention to what your body was telling you and what you were, you know, channeling from the universe. You listened to it and you just let it happen.
Exactly. That's exactly how it was. It was, and that's what embodiment is. I just want to add that in, that people think embodiment is just, I got to dance, right? Like it's just movement. That's people's first thought. And I get it, because the word body is in it, but it's so much more than that. I hear like my definition of embodiment. I'll share my definition. I have like several, but my main one is embodiment is honoring and expressing who and how you are in any given moment in a body as a body. So if we take that definition, it's expanded in that way. It's not just, oh, dancing, right? It's not just that anymore. It's checking in with yourself throughout the day. How am I feeling? Okay. So then from that, what is the embodied action step that I need to then go take? We go through this to-do list throughout the day, right? But we don't go through this check-in of our feelings and our bodies in a body as a body. We don't do that. So it was just me, Vandy, it was just me realizing and having the insight and awareness enough to know, to be able to know how to do that, and realize that writing poetry, which I had never done in my life.
I was going to ask you that.
No, it just came out. That was just what intuitively was like, okay, this is how you're going to heal. You're going to write in this way. This will be your medium. This will be your artistic medium right now, to turn the pain into purpose, and to turn pain to find beauty in pain, and take pain and make it pleasurable. And that's just was through my being able to inner listen. And
did you always have that gift, or is that something that did you have to do a lot of work to get that gift?
The tuning in.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's something that I was even aware. I think we have this period of time when we're like asleep, awake. So I think it wasn't so much that maybe I didn't have the skill, Jennifer, but I wasn't using it. I was never calling on it, maybe through, high school, college, but I got inklings of it and I started getting better at it, that intuitive, those hits, because they did come to me. And I eventually started to learn that you have to listen when those things happen. That's why I left grad school. That's why even in high school or college, I changed majors, because in my body, I was sick to my stomach when I would drive past schools, because I was in a teaching program and I was supposed to be a history teacher. And I literally would like get sick to my stomach driving past schools in college. And I knew, like my body is telling me this is terrifying. And so I changed majors. I got a little closer to what I wanted. So then whatever, I changed majors, became a dual, went to grad school, same thing. Massive, like intuitive, gut-wrenching, crying in the parking garage before class in my master's program. And it was just that I think I eventually just learned that those signs and we get those moments in life. Like we've all had that.
Yeah.
But do we listen? So I think I just eventually learned you're gonna listen. Because there will be consequences if you don't. And so eventually I quit grad school after like a month and out. And it was like the best decision I ever made. I don't regret it at all. I never looked back and I just figured it out along the way. Jennifer, I just got better from then on at being aware that I could have that skill, that it already existed. Because I think all of us have that skill set. It's just a matter of fine tuning it. Just thinking of like your intuitiveness and your embodiment and intuition are so hand in hand, because it's all about just, if you're in your body and you're very like tuned in, you're naturally going to feel more intuitive, right? Like you know what you need in any given moment. So I just, from then on, kind of kept learning how to get better at it like a muscle. And to this point now, it does feel it's so much stronger than certainly back then, because I didn't really know it was a thing. You just kind of go through the motions because you're asleep.
And you described yourself as a mentor. In regards to that, how does that play out for you?
With embodiment?
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? Why did I choose the word mentor, or what do you mean exactly?
Well, I think your words were embodiment and expression mentor. What does that mean? What are you, I guess, teaching others, or how are you bringing them into that mentorship? How does that work for you?
So the word mentor in and of itself, some people will call me coach, like I'm their coach, I'm their embodiment coach. Some people will say mentor. Honestly, people usually will say both. They'll just kind of interchange them. They're not the same thing, but my clients do tend to be like, you're a coach and a mentor. But I use that word mentor because I really feel that I see myself in that way. Number one, like if I'm just breaking down, I'm a word person, obviously. So if I see mentor, I really do feel sometimes coaching can come off as if I'm better than you, or I know so much more than you and I'm therefore somehow above you. Mentor feels to me like I have this knowledge, I have this wisdom, and I want to be your friend.
Like a guide, maybe?
Yes, I use the word guide a lot. Spot on. I use that word all the time. I was actually going to say that even when I say, you see the word like teacher, how do I teach? I've kind of even moved away from this idea of teacher, because I'm like, what am I teaching? I mean, really, I'm guiding. I'm not teaching. Like, I know people, this stuff is, how do you teach someone expression? How do you teach embodiment? I think you guide them. but I don't know if teach is the right word. I'm not teaching you how to do a handstand or whatever, which is not something that's necessarily intuitive, right? I'm in the realm of intuitive embodied healing arts. And so I don't know that teach feels right. It's like a guide. And that's why mentor to me really makes sense. And then with the expression and the embodiment piece, how it plays out is essentially through the body art membership is primarily then how that comes through, because with the monthly body art classes, and then there's 2-tier options, level 1, level 2, soon to be level 3 for 2022. Yeah, I'm excited. It's evolving. There's that word. It's just the way that naturally body art is it is literally, I am guiding you to be in your body. I'm guiding you to understand how you have these intuitive skills within you, how you have these intuitive movements within you, how to learn how to be in your body. What does that mean? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And the expression piece just feels so important. And I kind of added that recently because I realized that it's so much more than just me saying, I want to teach you to dance. I don't really want to teach you to dance. Other people, they do that. That's cool. That's great. Like choreography classes, no shade on them. But for me personally, I'm not here to teach you to dance. I'm here to guide you in what I believe you already know, and to just be self-expressed through the mechanism of dance and big breath and making sounds. And
yeah, I needed that.
Making like and weird sounds. And, like I'm here to help you be expressed through sound, through breath, through movement.
And poetry.
We do poetry and body art. And that's another form of expression. We do journaling and body art. We look at actual art pieces. So it's truly this big artistic expressionative modality method. And so really that's where the embodiment and the expression, that's just what feels most accurate to describe it, more so than saying I teach dance.
Sure. I think it's super interesting because when I think back of all of by the way, I've never really heard of this before. Raquel has experience with you, but this is kind of my first time hearing about this type of expression. And when I look back at my own life, I can tell you many times of trauma where I felt completely out of body, like above or not connected, or kind of saw it happen or was there, but not really there. Does that make sense? And so I think this is really cool to hear about. And I wonder, how do you plan to bring it to more people?
Well, thank you for sharing that. What you're talking about, I feel like I need to speak to that because it's so important. I don't want to glaze over that.
I like to glaze over it. Just kidding.
That whole disembodiment.
Yeah, it's big.
From the trauma, whether it's Alex Howard, he's a researcher with trauma, and he calls it like small T trauma, big T trauma. Traumatic brain injury, big T trauma.
Right.
Not feeling seen as a child, not feeling like you got loved the way you wanted, maybe like smaller T trauma. Both have effects on our nervous system. Everyone has a different nervous system. My nervous system is not the same as Jennifer's, is not the same as Raquel's. Like they're all different. Like that's just, they're different. Yeah. And so it's not, you can't compare how you respond to one thing and how someone else, you can't. But that disembodiment is exactly a part of why I wanted body art to come forward, and why, you say, how do you get it to more people? Oh my gosh, like it's a whole part of the reason I wanted to bring it out there is because every single tool that you see in body art is what got me to where I am. We're recording this, right? And it's tail end of August. So we're really a little over a year from my husband's accident,
Yeah.
which changed the entire trajectory of our lives and my career. And I'm like really fucking good. Like life is really good. And it's, how did that happen? And it's these tools.
Yeah.
It's, I went to that place where I felt the disembodiment. I felt the trauma doing what it does to our cells, to our nervous system, to our neural pathways. Just, I felt like the atrophying. I felt the severing. I was in tune enough to know what was happening. And I felt that numb. I actually have this will be a great piece for me to share, one of my pieces on normalizing sadness, because I wrote this when I felt that numb. And that numbness, I just feel it's really important to say that it's very real. It's not in your head. It's very physiological. That indeed, if there is trauma or chronic high level stress, which many of us are living in, I mean, the world we are in right now is, we need to have healthy nervous systems right now. We need to know how to have healthy nervous systems, which is also why something like body art is so important. Not just like, you know, going to the gym and like getting your pump on, which is great, but like we need, I'm going to say that word again, radical tools to keep our nervous systems healthy and happy and strong more than ever. And so that whole, like going back to that physiologically, just to know if you're like listening to this and you're ever in that space of what is wrong with me? Like, why can I not get out of this? Why do I feel so depressed? Why do I feel so low? Why I feel numb? I feel nothing. I feel everything and I feel nothing. Why? It's so real. It's so physiological. It's what's happening in your body from that trauma, from that stress, that quite literally first of all, your prefrontal cortex has pretty much shut down. And so you're not having rational thinking. Because your amygdala, which is where your midbrain with your stress and your emotions, it's firing like crazy. So it's impacting everything about your nervous system, and you're not making rational decisions. If you've ever tried to talk to someone, what happens when you try to talk to someone who's really stressed out and you're trying to have a conversation with them? Do they sometimes go like, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Oh yeah.
Because you lose the ability to process, to understand.
I'm the one that's like, what did you say?
Mm-hmm. You glazed out. You literally went somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the mouth moving and I processed none of it.
Exactly. It's like, I heard sounds coming out, but what did you just say? Say it again.
It's very real. It's not made up. It's not like, it's very real. It's actually that you're losing that ability in your prefrontal cortex to understand and process correctly, because you're kind of just like, because of the stress, the amygdala firing, the stress and the trauma, you're in this fight or flight state.
Yeah.
You don't need, you're thinking rationally isn't necessarily where you're at. You're in a state of panic and your body is sending all these signals down to your legs, to your lower extremities, whether you realize it or not. In some way, it's like it's sending all these signals, danger, danger, danger. I just need to get out. So you talking right now, I don't really care what you're saying. It's not going to help me survive right now. And I'm freaking the fuck out. Right. So it makes sense. And we can kind of give ourselves some grace if we can understand what is happening.
Yeah.
On a very physiological level, and feel empowered to know that you can take that back by working with your nervous system, i.e. working with your life force energy that we call it in this more spiritual space. But really, what is that? It's your neural pathways that carry energy. It's all the same.
Right.
We can take all that back by working with it. And that's what we're doing in body art.
Right. Because your body holds all that in. Right. Now, for somebody like me who isn't really in their body much, I'm in my head a lot. Right. And have been for maybe my whole life. I used to think I could dance and I used to like it. But I've gone through this phase, which has been a long phase actually, where I don't feel that connected to my body. And so like in your workshop from a couple of years ago, when you were like, hey, we're going to do some movement. And my first thought was, oh no, people are going to see me. Oh no, or I'm going to look like an idiot or, something like that. But, and so I know you do this in your retreats and they look amazing. And I just, I sit there reading all the stuff from, your website about the retreats. And I'm like, I want to go. But I think, ooh, but then I'm going to have to dance in front of people. Oh God. So, what do you do for people like me who are a little like, what do I do? Like,
get up and boogie, Raquel. We get up and boogie.
Like, how do you drag us out?
That's a great question. Well, I will say that actually is a skill.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of my gifts. And that's something that, I was just so stoked because I was just asked to be a part of a YTT, a yoga teacher training, to help new yoga teachers do exactly what you're talking about, which is hold space.
Okay.
And that word gets thrown around a lot, but it is actually a beautiful gift if you know how to, that it's an art, if you know how to hold space for people. And what I mean by that is really holding space for people to feel safe, to feel seen, to feel heard, to emote in front of not only other people, but actually themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably more afraid actually to see yourself, like letting yourself go there. We blame it on other people. Like, I don't want all these people to see me. And it's like, probably, yeah. So that is how we do that. Is it's a lot of things, but what it basically boils down to is holding space is, number one, I'm not trying to fix you. I will never make you feel like you need fixed. So there's an art to how I'm expressing that in the class and the language that I'm using. It's very choice-based, which is also, it's trauma-informed, choice-based. So I always say that at the start of class so that, if you don't want to be on your back, if that doesn't feel safe to be on your back, great, then don't be on your back. What feels better? Then come to a seat. It's choice-based. I make that clear throughout class. I'm offering up guide points. Start to use your arms. What happens when you use your arms?
Yeah.
I'm not telling you have to do it, but I'm inviting you to do it. Let's drop into our hips. What happens when we drop into our hips, right? Giving these kind of cues to invite you into the process, versus like, you have to do this, you have to do that. Like when it feels like you're being told to do something, which is also a part of that trauma-informed, choice-based class. And also, part of it is energetic. And that's a very personal thing of how I'm able to hold this like masculine energetic container so that you all can be your like feminine beings and let loose. But like, I have to hold that energetically in my masculine, which is what most people don't realize, that I'm doing that really strongly. And while you all then can get in your feminine expression and you can be wild, right? But you need the structure of the container. And body art, without going into it, it's designed very intelligently that even though every class has a different theme based on the cosmos, like the different zodiacs of understanding like these different qualities of humanness, right? Like we just did Virgo.
And I'm a Virgo. So
this makes a lot of sense then. Worst critic on yourself.
Absolutely.
The body art is designed really intelligently so that there is structure. So you feel supported. It's not willy-nilly, despite the fact that it's free flow. Oh, there's structure. And you just don't know that because you don't know the exact structure that I'm going by, but you feel it. You feel held. You feel supported in the way that it is. It's designed with energy in mind. So it's working intelligently with energy through the body. Again, I'm not explicitly maybe saying that, but you're feeling it. And I'm doing it in a way that is intelligently informed and has understanding and knowledge behind it. And also like just even on a more basic level, like offering up like our journaling prompts, those are something that is done I'm posing the question. There's not a right or a wrong.
Right.
That right there is an example of how to help someone get out of their head. I'm telling you, this is not right or wrong. Just right.
Yeah.
With poetry. Hey, there's nothing, look at this piece of art. Listen to this music. I'm going to put the timer on. Just right.
Yeah.
That sort of structure and yet lack of being told you have to do it this way are just very specific examples of how to help someone get out of their head and feel that they're safe to do that. Does that make sense? I'm just trying to like,
it really does. And I will say that I did not, even though I felt, sort of awkward and, all of that and self-conscious, I did not ever feel judged at all by you or by anybody else that was in the class. And I think that's a huge testament to you.
How about by yourself? Did you feel judged by yourself?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm still working on that. That's a work in progress.
But you didn't feel it from the space itself.
No, I didn't feel it from you. I didn't feel it from any of the other women in the group. It was all me.
Right. And those are two things is I'm really trying to help people come back to a space of loving themselves and also expressing themselves. Like I want them to feel seen by others and by themselves.
Right.
And I want them to feel loved for who they are. I want them to love themselves. And if I can do that, then damn, I've done a lot. Yeah. But yeah,
you had a journal prompt that I just loved on your Instagram. You said, Eckhart Tolle said, whatever the present moment is, accept it as if you had chosen it. And you said, the next obvious question is, why would my soul have chosen this? And I just love that prompt. Why did you pick that as your question?
Because I was asking why. Because you move from, why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me?
Yeah.
To
so deep. That's so deep.
Why did this happen to me? Those are two very different ways of saying the same exact sentence. That's also in the book. So yeah, I was asking the question of why, but on a higher perspective versus the egoic perspective. So then that's where that came from is then why did my soul choose this? Like there was a reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
That hits me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
Did you want to share one of your poems?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Or more than
are there tears happening? I'm not sure what's
maybe. Maybe.
I love you, Raquel.
Oh,
and we hold all the space for the emotions. There's always emotions because when you're working in body art and embodiment with all this energy within you that's been so stuck, oh my gosh, like just letting people know.
Yeah.
You might, hey, if you're feeling like this, if you're feeling like that, if you feel like you want to cry, if you feel like you need to stomp on the ground, like me, like just cueing in this way is, again, it's just I feel like it's just so much of it is an invitation to just be human.
Right.
I just want people to be human. Like we just need more humans to act like humans.
Yeah.
And humans are, I think, they're beautiful. Humans are beautiful. Humans are full of so much expression and art. And we have the ability, our brains are so cool that they're actually big enough and amazing enough to make art and find meaning. And other brains can't do that. Yeah. Humans can do that. And we can hold so much big feelings inside of us, and we can express it in such a beautiful way if we would just give ourselves permission to do that, however it wants to come out, whether it's crying, moaning, laughing, hysteric, like cackling, pounding your fists, or it's just, okay. So the first one I want to read, I'll look at this one. This was when I was talking about the idea of the numbness and wanting to come out of that numbness. And I remember I was sitting, just to kind of set it up, I was sitting in the bathtub listening to Leanne Rimes' album called Chant. If you've never listened.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. What was so cool is she actually commented on this post.
Oh, wow.
Super cool.
Yeah. She said it brought her to tears, and I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, that was pretty cool. But so I just was in the bathtub, and I was feeling like I was feeling enough that I was able to emote and actually cry, which sometimes there were times where I couldn't even cry because I was so numb that I remember sitting on the couch, like feeling nothing, like I was hollow. But this one was, I took my camera out and I literally filmed myself in the bathtub crying. And I thought, maybe I'll post this, maybe not, we'll see. I ended up posting it. And this is what I wrote. She knew her extraordinary darkness would lead to exquisite light. Don't hold on. Yes, you heard me. Break down, break open. You're so beautiful when you cry. You're so human when you don't try to hold it all together. Light some candles, play music to make you feel. Get in the bathtub, pray out loud for help. Sit there until the water gets cold. Notice the goosebumps on your skin. Take comfort in the uncomfortable sensation. Then hug your knees into your chest and weep. Weep, give it sound. Lean your head against the wall. Go on, lean on me. No need to hold on, but don't collapse in defeat either. I love you. We need you. Let go and let God, including the God in you. Normalize sadness.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I can't wait for your book to come out. I'm so excited for your book and your gift and your talent and what you are bringing into the world and what you're helping other people bring out in themselves. It's a true gift.
Thank you. I received that. I truly, I look back at I don't know where all this came from. It feels like a different version of myself. And I'm just grateful that it came out.
Yeah.
I'm grateful it came out because it needed to. And I know that it's going to help people. The book is going to really mirror the grieving process because it was written during the grieving process. So I hope people feel the embodied story of that. I hope they can feel that movement through grief and healing. Grief is so essential. You know, grief is self-care. It's a part of, like, I really feel grief is a part of self-care. If you don't allow yourself to grieve properly, you will suffer so much longer than necessary. You have to be willing to grieve. It's a beautiful thing. You know, Danielle Laporte calls it like the goddess of grief will give you her own blend of tea, and you have to take it. It's your blend of grief, and it will heal you, and it will hurt like hell. But you have to be willing to go through all of it, because there is another side to it. Actually, I have another piece. I'll read this one more because
absolutely.
This one's called The Third Space. And I really think that the third space is where that healing happens. Meet me in the third space, the space where paradoxes abound, where right hugs wrong, where up meets down, where hot is also cold, where healing blends with hurting. In this space, time doesn't exist. If we can remain here long enough, this is where alchemy happens.
So powerful.
Meet me there.
Oh,
I think we all need to go there. I think we all need to go to this third space. Like the whole world needs to go there for a little while.
yeah, no kidding.
meet each other on like a human level,
Mm.
you know, because we're all grieving right now. There's so much grief in the world. And like, can we recognize that, that it's swirling in so many ways? There's so much grief and trauma happening.
Right.
So we need to recognize that, and we need to create robust nervous systems. You know, we need to get in our parasympathetic nervous systems and get out of these sympathetic nervous systems so damn much, because they are on overdrive and we are getting stuck, and we're normalizing what's not normal. We're normalizing this maladaptive stress response, like circling it back to the beginning, where you get stuck and that becomes your new normal. And that's not okay. You've gotten so off of your equilibrium. We need to come back to some homeostasis as a people, you know, as humanity, we need to come back to some homeostasis and find this space again, you know, to create that alchemy for healing. And I really think that happens first, like you know, it has to happen with you. Like, where can you start? You can start with you. You can start with your nervous system. You can start with your own inner healing and how you are putting yourself out there in the world. Like, let's start there. And from there, so much beautiful work can happen. So many more open minds and open hearts and compassion. Because when you do embodiment work and you do work like body art, you see yourself as a human. And when you can see yourself as a human, you can see other people as a human, right? You know, and that piece, I wrote human, H-U-E, and I put that human, like all these hues to us, right? Like, we're layered, we're deep, we're not black and white. There's so much to us. There's so much in us, within us, that wants to be expressed and heard and seen. And I just think if more of us could do this type of embodiment work and be more in our bodies, and as you said, Raquel, like less floating heads, I want to live in that world.
Yes.
Because that's a world of humans being humans expressed. I want to be in that world. I don't know about y'all, but like, that's what I want. I want to meet there. That is healing. Healing is human. You know, that's coming back to our wholeness as a people, as a human race. I don't know where that just came from, but there you go.
My dad drove 2 hours yesterday just to sit with me outside for a little bit. And he told me that he's like, I feel sometimes like giving up because there's so much grief in the world and we're all stuck in this grief right now. And I was sliding down with him a little bit. And then I remembered, I was like, but Dad, you taught me to vision when I was a kid. And if we can vision and create, other people can vision and create. And this, you know, what he was sad about was the state of politics, obviously, and then the state of our environment and all of it kind of happening at once. And then people fighting over masks and vaccinations and all the things that make people kind of crazy. And he was like, but I don't think we're the majority. And I feel like today you just brought this message that it doesn't really matter if we're the majority, because it's powerful. And all these things that we do when we heal ourselves, when we heal each other, when one person heals, we all heal. It is just, we bring it to one another. And what you said today was just so powerful. I can't wait for my dad to hear this. I'm just so excited.
Heal for the people in the back.
Exactly.
I wrote that.
It does have an effect. It does.
I literally wrote that on my page. That might be on the book too. I can't remember. Like, literally, it's so short, but just heal for the people in the back. Like, heal loudly, please.
Yeah.
Like, heal loudly, heal publicly, heal for the people in the back, because we need to see that. We need to see people being raw and human and healing. We need to see people. It's so important to me that I highlighted. Everyone always says that, like, it was so brave of you to highlight your vulnerability, and gosh, you like really shared the shit. And I did. And I just, again, that's my personality. I'm probably an oversharer, but I don't regret it at all, because I can't tell you how many people reached out to me saying thank you for just being fucking human, because I needed to see that. I needed, you know, this happened to my husband, or this happened to whatever, like, or I'm going through X, and just you being you, and you being like so vulnerable and real. Goodness, like, your content is like wholesome, and I just need that. And the world needs what you're offering. And So that those comments just honestly keep me going. And honestly, like when you talk about that vision, goodness, like, yes. And that's where body art came from, was just this vision. Body art it's a 90-minute, like in the vision of it all, it's a 90-minute embodied dance writing activation, I call it, to heal, up level, and know thyself through the art of music, dance, and writing. And that's the vision. Like, let's heal ourselves. Let's really radically know ourselves, up level ourselves, meaning like, let's elevate into like a highest version of ourselves so they can ripple out into the world. And let's do it through the realm and the medium of art. Because again, we humans have the ability to make art like no other species can. Like, we can make meaning. That's so amazing. And it's so healing. Art is so healing. Mm-hmm. And we need we need more healing. So I want people to be more expressive and more with the arts and whatever. I do it through embodied healing arts. But if you want to go paint, whatever it is you want to do, you want to write, go write. If you want to dance, go sing. It's so healing to take, pain and make it purposeful, and to do it through the realm of art. Again, art just touches something that when we can't understand something, it just does. It just can touch the ineffable. And I love that you said that about your dad and having this vision, because I didn't even know that was really a vision until more recently. And then I realized body art became something bigger. I brought it out in February of this year for free. And I was like, just come try this. Just come. It's free. Just come. It's healing me. Like, let's do this. And then it just kept like, people were like, oh, this is amazing. Like, I can't even describe to you how amazing. Like, I didn't even know I needed this. And just the most amazing testimonials. They blow me the fuck away. And, then it became a membership. And so the vision wasn't even like, there was something, but it just expanded and became so much bigger. And now I have all these affiliates, these 25 affiliates out there sharing something they believe in that I created. And it's just wild to me that we're all together collectively sharing such goodness and so much healing. And I know that they can help me get this message out there in a bigger way. I think you asked me, how do I get this bigger? Like, there you go. These women are these affiliates. That's a part of their role, is to literally, they can do more than just I can do. Like, they can help me grow this and get this to people who I otherwise wouldn't get to. I really feel like I finally figured out, like, this is what I want to do. Like, it's taken me this long. I've been in business since 2016, really, or 15. And I'm finally like, remember I talked about like, this is Alyssa. Yeah. Like, this is it. All of this with body art and like embodied artful living and healing. This is it. This is the vision. This is what I want to put into the world and share with the world and get it bigger, and have women help me get it bigger, more than I can do by myself. I knew it wasn't just for me, just like I knew the book wasn't just for me. I had to like get it into the world. That's why I made it free. That's why I just put it out there on a whim and had no idea it would have the impact that it has.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your gifts and your words and your movement and all of it. I mean, you doing what you do gives others permission to do it for themselves. Going back to, it starts with you, and then other people see it and they think, oh, I can do that too. That has an effect on me. Mm-hmm. So that's amazing that you're sharing this with as many people as can be touched by it. So thank you for being so generous with your talent and your gifts and with your time with us today. This is so huge. Is there anything that we didn't ask you about, or something that you want to bring forth that we haven't talked about yet?
Okay, let me see. Let me just check in. Let me check in. Is there anything? It feels pretty complete. I feel like we went in so many directions, and it was all so beautifully tied together. And I feel complete. I really do. I appreciate the opportunity, and I just receive everything that you said. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you asking me both to be on here and share what body art is and the message. And let's be the art we are. That's the tagline. Let's be the art we are. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Alyssa, thank you so much for being on Madness Cafe, and keep spreading your talent and your gifts and your words. And Jennifer and I will do what we can to help spread your message as well. And, we're going to try to be the art that we are too. So
come to body art. Come to body art.
I want to. I got to get out of my head.
Yes. 4th Sunday of every month, we body art.
Okay.
3 o'clock EST, 3 to 4:30. We do it, and it's amazing. We have poetry shares afterwards that are optional afterwards for like 15 minutes, and we just share what we wrote, and it's amazing. And like we end up crying and doing all the things, and it's great. It's beautiful. Libra season is next. Like that'll be coming up. That'll be coming up next. Yeah, we go with the cosmos. We go through the layers and lens of the cosmos to understand ourselves as humans. So yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you, Alyssa. All right.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, that was so much what my heart needed. It was just so good. I can't say enough good things about Alyssa and what she's doing. And that was amazing.
You know what I love so much is just her energy is just so positive and gracious. And I love what she said about holding space for others, because I feel like sometimes it's so easy to be intimidated, but she feels so real and genuine. And everything that she talked about is like a life strategy, like a way to come into your own. And it's all the things I hope that we would accomplish with the podcast.
Absolutely. That is a beautiful way to put it. That's exactly right. I love it.
Thanks for bringing such great guests on recently. You got some great friends.
I do. I'm so blessed to be surrounded by so many amazing people. And you are one of those people, Jennifer. So thank you for being part of my circle.
Also, Raquel.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too.
Bye.
Bye, sweetie. Thanks everyone for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast, or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.